scale up and scale out. Those are two big words in the AI data center industry. Scaling up means you have a server, you want to fill it up with accelerators, GPUs or XPUs as they call these days, and then you want to connect those, or scale out, you want to connect the actual racks. Musk has spoken about this also. He called it coherent compute. In other words, you can put a lot of GPUs together, you can put memory together, but you need to orchestrate all of that to get the most out of the compute and the memory that you have to run the data through the processes and learn fast. So that's how you lower the cost per token. That's how you lower the cost per solution. That's how you lower the cost per solved problem. So that's kind of the situation in the AI data center space. And I just attended a presentation about this. Links in the show notes, the abstract. Really interesting work, actually. Also very well done by the presenter. He's a VC, so he has a little bit of a, more coherent view over things. It's not just technical. So very interesting. So I want to use this as an opportunity actually to extrapolate and talk a little bit about Tesla and the earnings call from yesterday. Because if you think about Tesla's transport as a service business model that they're embarking on right now, what they're really building is a real world AI cluster, which consists of cybercabs driving around and moving people from A to B. It consists of a networking layer that coordinates those cybercabs, which will be probably Grok or something along those lines, like an LLM that is functioning more like an operating system. Then you have the maintenance, then you have the cleaning, you have the charging, and that's the scale out phase. And then you have the scale up, which is the actual robots themselves, and that is, in the case of the Cybercab, the car, and then but also the Optimus that actually is building a lot of the stuff and maintaining the stuff and all of these things. So scale up, scale out. So I think it's useful to borrow the thinking process from one area and extrapolate into the other. I think those are often very interesting combinations. I think that's part of the magic of Elon Musk, that he can do that, and he does that very often. And I think I can see where the inspiration is coming from. Like, if you have an open mind, if you're really into understanding the scale out and scale up process within the AI data center, which he is obviously with XAI, you can extrapolate also into other AI adjacent worlds, such as, for example, transport as a service that he's building with Tesla. So I want to talk about this a little bit and use this opportunity whenever I'm exposed to a really good presentation, when I have a good presentation that inspires me, where I learn something, I think it's worth giving clues about this. It's worth talking about it, because there is always something to be learned here for ourselves and hopefully also for the listeners. It's not even on podcast. It's January 29, 2026. This is Krimdalko. For the year, we're down 5.4%. The market's up 1.2%. We're underperforming by 6.6%. Just real quick market action. We had a little bit of a sell-off in Tesla. Unfortunately, even though the stock was up after hours yesterday, it did sell off 3%. Not clear why, but I can see some investors are just maybe tired, maybe unsure where this is going. I think we've spoken enough about the pros and cons. This is a new business model. This is a new way to think about the company. This is a new way to price the company, and you have this transition of ownership, and that's why the stock is where it is right now. I think we are incredibly bullish. We can see 900, 1,000 price action this year. So this is a company that has a lot of value to be delivered. But let's now talk about the actual presentation. So the presentation I attended was about the interconnects within the AI data center. So this is a VC, and they invest in switches and networking technology, particularly also like cables and things like that. And the question is, do we want to go with copper? Do we want to go with fiber? If we go with fiber, when do we switch? Do we switch at the electricity level? Do we let the electricity flow and then switch into fiber at some other point? Do we switch, or do we use optical switches and even optical chips? So go all in with light, which is something that I think Google is trying to do. So there's a lot of interesting potential vectors here of attack, and the presentation was very interesting, but I don't want to talk about this particularly because this is not in our expertise. I guess the only thing I want to mention here is the importance of coherent compute, right? And this is very, very adjacent to the presentation that we attended, which is that you can have, hundreds of thousands of XPUs, which means accelerators, together in a data center. But if you don't connect it properly and route the data in an intelligent way to get most out of the compute and the memory that you have, and memory is a big bottleneck right now, then then you don't really have a very functioning data center. And this was mainly the presentation. But what I want to focus on is actually Tesla and the network that they're building, the network of transportation as a service, and that includes personal transport. That also includes, by the way, logistics, so the semi and the Cybertruck. So Tesla is building a network of transportation for people and for goods, and that's very important because the semi, that's just maybe a side note here, but we just did evaluation on the semi opportunity, the logistics as a service, the autonomous logistics idea that has been floating around, and we just put some numbers around it. Very similarly to the personal transportation, you look at the miles driven by Class 8 trucks in the U.S., about 200 billion miles per year, and you then do the math. How many trucks do you need? How much penetration do you expect? I'm not going to go into the details from the model. I think this warrants a whole new episode, but we get to a few $100s per share in net present value. If you do the math, 5 years from now, you get, let's say, half the miles in the US are driven logistically. Now we give all the market to Tesla. Maybe that's aggressive, but you could argue that 100% of the Class 8 trucks will be autonomous, and then Tesla gets maybe 40% market share or something like that. But right now they're the only one that is in the discussion because they have both, right? They have the ability to produce these things and they have the intelligence. And let's not forget the scaling. And this brings me now to the main point here: scale up and scale out, right? Scale up and scale out. Scale up is in the lingo of Tesla would be, okay, you have to build a semi, you have to build a Cybercab, you have to build a Cybertruck, you have to build the thing, and n equals 1 needs to work. It has to have autonomy. It has to be safe. It has to have all the ingredients that a product is required. And then scale out means you want to do this at scale. You want to build hundreds of thousands of trucks. You want to build millions of Cybercabs. And Tesla has this ability. So Tesla is the only company in the world that can scale up and scale out into a transportation as a service world. And therefore, that's why we are fully invested in Tesla, because that is a massive opportunity, a real-world opportunity that can lower the cost of transport for people and for goods by at least a factor of 2, if not more. In fact, we believe it's a lot more, but within the goods, it's a big deal, right? Because take your own transportation costs. Just imagine you land at JFK and your taxi cab costs you $150. Instead, it could be only $40, $50. So that's that is significant difference in the expense that you make for a service that you need, that you always will need. That by the way, we believe will always increase. The demand for transportation is one of those things that always goes up. So if you lower the price, you will just have more volume. That is just the nature of some markets are like that, and transportation is certainly one. Telecommunication is the other one. So talking to each other and going from A to B seems to be something that people just continuously want to do more. And if you lower the price, they do more. So to summarize, I think looking at Tesla from a scale up and scale out perspective, gives you a good sense for where the company lives and how the company actually operates and what the opportunity is. They have the opportunity to scale up, so to build the products for transportation as a service world, and also to scale out, to have the scale to manufacture the hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of cars and trucks needed to realize that model. Thank you.